Listen up, family, because I'm about to deliver a message that's going to shake your soul and shift your spirit. What's your name? Where are you at right now? Are you hunched over a desk, grinding through a job that's sucking your joy dry, betrayed by a coworker who smiled while they schemed? Maybe you're in a quiet room, heart bruised from family who cut deeper than strangers ever could. Or perhaps you're lying awake, staring at the ceiling, haunted by dreams you chased but lost, wondering if anyone sees the fight you're still waging. I've been there, felt the sting of trust shattered like glass, poured my heart into folks who left me empty, carried wounds from those I called my own. I've walked through valleys where hope was a flicker, where betrayal was breakfast and doubt was dinner. But let me tell you something, God's got a word for you today. And it's not a whisper. It's a roar from heaven's throne, a divine wake-up call that says, "My child, I see every tear, every scar, every sleepless night. I know the weight you've carried, the love you've given to those who didn't deserve it. I'm calling you to rise, to protect the light I placed in you, to reclaim the purpose I spoke over you before time began." This ain't just a speech, it's a holy interruption. A lifeline for the one who's been stabbed in the back more times than they can count. For the one whose big heart's been mistaken for weakness. For the one who keeps handing out chances to folks who keep proving they're unworthy. I'm talking to you, and God's saying, enough is enough. You're mine. And it's time to guard your peace, your purpose, your destiny like the sacred treasure it is. I've stood where you're standing, betrayed by friends who clapped in my face but competed in silence, drained by folks who took my energy and gave nothing back, chained by voices that tried to keep me locked in my past. I've felt the ache of giving my all to people who only showed up when their hands were empty, who whispered my flaws to others while smiling at me. But God pulled me through, lifted me from those pits, and He's reaching for you now, saying, I did create you to shrink for others' comfort, to dim your light for their insecurity. I formed you to shine, to reflect my glory, to walk in the greatness I destined for you. So let's get real, family. We're diving deeper than surface talk, deeper than platitudes, into 6 kinds of people you gotta avoid, because keeping them close will cost you more than your peace. It'll rob you of the divine calling God's been weaving into your life since before you drew breath. These folks will derail your purpose, blur your identity, and steal the joy God meant for you to carry. Before we dive in, I need you to move in faith 3 things. Not for me, but because God's stirring something in you right now. First, hit that like button so this truth can reach another soul drowning in betrayal. Second, subscribe and join this family of faith, because we rise together, pray together, fight together. Third, drop amen in the comments, declare God's truth over your life, claiming His victory for your journey. What's your story? Who's been dimming your light? Type it out, claim it in faith, because when you speak your pain, heaven moves to heal it. Let's go, because it's time to guard your destiny before the devil steals another piece of it. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy ain't the one charging at you with a sword, it's the one sitting right beside you, grinning like they're your biggest cheerleader, all while sharpening the knife in their heart. They slip into your life wearing a friend's mask, echoing your dreams like they're singing your song, nodding at your victories like they're proud, blending into your circle so smooth you'd swear they belong. But deep inside, there's a storm raging, envy thick as fog, comparison sharp as thorns, silent rage burning like a hidden fire. They don't want your success, they want your throne. They don't want to see you soar, they want to fly higher than you. Even if it means clipping your wings. They'll fake loyalty, play the part just to stay close enough to memorize your moves, like a spy in your camp. I've seen it, folks who clapped for my wins on set but whispered doubts in private, who cheered my breakthroughs but trembled at my shine, who smiled while plotting to outdo me. And God's saying, be wise as serpents, gentle as doves, my child. Guard your heart, for not every smile is sent by me. Discern the spirit behind the applause. Their claps are hollow like drums with no soul, echoing in an empty room. They don't cheer your breakthrough, they're terrified of it, because your light shines a spotlight on their shadows. Your rise reminds them of the growth they dodged, the risks they ducked, the potential they buried under layers of fear, laziness, and excuses. Instead of facing their own reflection, they target your glow, trying to dim what God made radiant. What's your name? Who's been clapping with one hand while competing with the other? You trusted them, opened your heart, let them into your sacred spaces, believed they were for you. But they were racing against you in secret, turning your journey into a contest you never entered. They study you like a playbook, not to grow but to copy, jotting mental notes on your wins to mimic your path, hoping to outrun you in your own lane. And when they can't keep pace, they sabotage, subtle, sneaky, like a snake in the grass. They question your motives, undermine your ideas, plant doubts like weeds choking your confidence. You sure that's the right move? You really think you can handle that big dream, that promotion, that calling? They dress it as concern, but it's poison, slow and deliberate, meant to make you second-guess the path God laid before you. It ain't support, it's sabotage in disguise, a calculated move to keep you small while they scramble for your spotlight. When you hit a milestone, land that job, launch that business, heal that wound, they don't celebrate. You feel it in your gut. Their eyes dart, their energy shifts, their compliments cut like a backhanded slap across your soul. You're lucky it worked out. I've been thinking about doing that too, but bigger, better. They can't rejoice because your win feels like their defeat. They see life as a scoreboard, not a journey, believing your light dims theirs. That's their sickness, their wound, but God's shouting, your shine is my gift, child. I made you to reflect my glory, not to cower for anyone's insecurity. Don't let their darkness steal what I've given. They copy your ideas, mimic your work, act like they're chasing their own dream when they're just chasing yours, desperate beat you at being you. And it hurts deep, because you thought they were family, a brother, a sister, a soul you could trust with your heart, your hopes, your fears. I've poured my soul into folks like that, shared my vision, my struggles, only to feel the shift, conversations turning cold, support turning conditional. Their presence only there when it boosts their image, like they're posing for a photo op in your life. They ask questions, not to care but to gather intel, like spies mapping your moves. You're always watched, measured, compared, like you're on trial in their mind. And when you rise, when you get that degree, reconcile that relationship, step into your calling, they shrink. Not because you hurt them, but because your growth exposes their stagnation. They hate that your success makes them feel small, like a mirror showing their unhealed wounds. You didn't compete, you were building, creating, obeying God's call. But they turned your journey into a race you never signed up for, a competition you didn't know you were in. They'll never admit they see you as a threat, never speak their envy aloud. No, they hide behind fake smiles, reposting your wins for clout, tagging your name, showing up at your events, all for optics, all for show. Deep down, they're waiting for the day they can say, I'm better than you, the moment they can outshine you in their own eyes. That's dangerous, because you don't see the knife coming. You think they love you, got your back, but they're keeping score, counting your steps, praying for your stumble while pretending to pray for your success. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23 proclaims, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. And here's the gut punch that'll make you wince. Some of these folks ain't strangers. They're family, blood, kin, people who've seen your tears, held your dreams, sat at your table, shared your bread. I've had relatives who smiled at my success but whispered competition in their hearts, who celebrated me to my face but resented me in private. Behind their kind eyes was a quiet contest you never agreed to enter. That competition steals your peace, like a thief slipping through your soul's back door. You start shrinking to protect their ego, silencing your joy to keep them comfortable, downplaying your blessings because their energy chills when you speak of God's favor. You dim your light to ease their insecurity, like you're apologizing for the shine God gave you. Before you know it, you're living smaller, walking softer, speaking quieter, just to keep their shadows from growing longer. But God's roaring from heaven, you weren't made to hide, child. I created you to shine, to reflect my glory, to stand tall in the purpose I spoke over you. Don't let anyone's insecurity cage the light I kindled in your soul. You weren't built to tiptoe so others feel tall. Your wins ain't accidents, they're divine appointments orchestrated by a God who sees your end from your beginning. Your elevation is His plan, not up for negotiation. If they can't clap with a full heart, they don't deserve a seat in your story, no matter how long they've been there. How do you spot them before their poison takes root? Watch their reactions, family. They show up when you're bleeding, but go silent when you're blessed. Notice who leans in during your struggles but fades when you're victorious. See who shares your joy without a trace of envy, gives without keeping score, claps when the spotlight's on you, not for clout, but because they love your shine, because they see God's hand on you. Real support don't compete or compare. It don't count your blessings like they're owed to someone else. It stands beside you, not behind with a blade. If their love shifts when you succeed, it was never love, it was convenience, a transaction dressed as affection. Letting go of folks you trusted cuts deep, especially when you've got history, years of laughter, tears, shared battles. I've had to walk away from people I love like kin, and it felt like losing a limb. But loyalty to someone secretly rooting against you costs your peace, your power, your progress. You gotta protect your purpose, guard the gift God placed in you. Sometimes loving means distance, even if it stings like fire. You don't owe anyone access to your future just because they walked your past. You don't owe them a seat in your destiny because they started the journey with you. Growth demands separation. Elevation exposes truth. Every time you rise, God reveals who's with you and who's just along for the ride, who's praying for your win and who's plotting your slip. Their competition ain't even about you, it's their lack, their unhealed wounds, their fear of stepping into their own greatness. They project their pain, turn your progress into their problem, resent your peace because they don't have it. Don't take it personal. Don't carry their jealousy like it's your burden. Your blessings cost you tears, prayers, sleepless nights, sacrifices in the dark when no one saw. No one gets to resent the favor you fought for, the grace you bled for, the victory God handed you. If someone's always trying to one-up you, can't celebrate your wins without stealing the spotlight. If their love reeks of envy, competition, control, let them go. Not with bitterness, not with revenge, but with clarity, with strength, with a holy conviction that not everyone who starts with you is meant to finish. You ain't got time to drag anchors when God's lifting your wings to soar. Don't waste breath explaining your light to folks married to darkness. Don't shrink your soul to ease their mediocrity. They're competing while you're creating, measuring while you're moving, plotting while you're praying. You're too focused, too locked in, too tethered to the calling God burned into your bones. You ain't chasing spotlights, you're chasing purpose, running toward the destiny God wrote for you. Your success don't come from comparison, it flows from obedience, faith, the unshakable will of a God who says, what I've started, I'll finish. No enemy, no fake friend, no jealous spirit can stop what He's ordained. So stop shrinking, stop explaining, stop waiting for their applause. You weren't called to be understood, you were called to stand out, to shine so bright the world sees God through you. Your destiny's too big for secret competitors, your power too mighty for insecure souls, your purpose too eternal for those who can't clap when you win. Move forward, walk boldly, head high, heart full. The people meant for you won't compliment them, protect your name in rooms you ain't in, lift you without resentment, love you without scorekeeping. That's real. That's rare. That's what God says you deserve. Let the rest compete with a version of you that's long gone. While they play games, you're walking in greatness, and nothing they do can touch what's already yours in Christ. There's folks who don't come to steal your wallet, your car, or your dreams. They come for something deeper, more sacred, your energy, your peace, your joy. They walk into your life not with loud chaos or flashing warning signs, but with quiet need, heavy burdens, empty hands, open mouths, always asking, always taking, never giving back. It's so subtle, so gradual, you don't feel the weight they drop on your shoulders until your soul's buckling, your spirit's gasping for air. I've been there, family pouring out my heart, giving my all to folks who left me drained, hollow, wondering why every conversation felt like a marathon with no finish line. I'd hang up the phone, sit in silence, feeling like I'd just run a mile uphill with no water in sight. And God's whispering, "My child, I made you to give love, to pour out grace, but not to lose yourself in the process. Protect the spirit I placed in you, for it's the wellspring of your purpose." These are the ones who expect you to pour like a fountain, but never offer a drop to fill you back. They bring problems endless, heavy, tangled, but never solutions, never a word of hope. They need you constantly like you're their lifeline, but vanish like smoke when you need a shoulder, a listener, a friend. They're dangerous, not because they're loud or obvious, but because they drain you silently like a leak in your soul you don't notice until you're running dry. You become their therapist, their cheerleader, their safety net, their 911 call. But they don't even pause to ask, "How you holding up? How's your heart?" You give, hoping one day they'll see you, hoping they'll reciprocate, but they don't. What's your story? Who's been leaving you heavy after every talk, like you've been carrying their world while yours crumbles? You feel tired, hollow, like you're pouring into a cup with no bottom, a well that never holds water. Deep down, your spirit knows this ain't balanced, ain't mutual, ain't life-giving. It's a one-way road where love, energy, time flow only to them, leaving you parched, gasping for the nourishment you've been giving away. They call it friendship, connection, family, but it's emotional vampirism, plain and simple. They feed off your light, your strength, your hope, but never bring their own. They lean on your faith, but don't ask if you're strong enough to carry their weight and yours. And when you slow down, get quiet, try to catch your breath, they accuse you of changing, pulling away, not being the rock they leaned on. But you ain't changing, you're exhausted, bone deep, weary from being the strong one, the one who checks in, the one holding the whole foundation together while your own cracks widen. You're not withdrawing, you're fighting to breathe in a space that's been choking you slow, suffocating your joy under their endless needs. God's calling, "Come to me, weary one. I'll give you rest, but you must guard your heart from those who take without giving, who drain the well I meant to overflow." Some folks only love the version of you that gives without limits, that never says no, that sacrifices your peace to prop up theirs. I've been that person giving till I had nothing left, thinking it was love, thinking it was duty. But when you set a boundary, when you dare say, "I'm tired too, I'm hurting too," they're gone poof like they never knew you. Or worse, they guilt trip you, twisting the knife like you were better than this. You've changed. You used to care. No, family, you haven't changed, you've woken up. You've seen the light, realized that love without give and take is abuse dressed in kindness. A one-sided deal that leaves you bankrupt. They disguise their dependency as connection, making you feel like their lifeline, like they'll shatter without you. And that can feel good for a minute, important, needed, like you're making a difference. But over time, that need turns into chains, heavy and cold. You're not helping out of love anymore, it's obligation. Fear they'll collapse if you stop. Fear you'll be the bad guy if you step back. And here's the truth, they will fall, not because you abandon them, but because they never learned to stand on their own. They never learned to pour into themselves, to draw from God's well instead of yours. They never built the strength to carry their own emotional weight, and instead of growing, they've leaned on you, staying small, staying available, so they don't feel alone in their struggle. That ain't love or support, it's bondage, a spiritual prison that's stealing your joy, your peace, your God-given spark. You start avoiding their calls, dreading their texts, bracing yourself every time they show up because you know what's coming, the drama, the complaints, the emotional dump that leaves you heavier than before. They never pause to ask if you're okay, never stop to pour into your spirit, just take, assuming you'll always be there, an endless well for their thirst. But you ain't God, family. You ain't a battery built to be drained dry. You're a soul, created in His image, and your spirit needs refilling too. Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 affirms, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." You need folks who see you, not just your strength, but your struggles, who ask about your dreams, your fears, who remind you your feelings matter, your heart matters. You need people who pour into you with the same passion you've poured out, who bring laughter, faith, hope to your table, not just their troubles. Because if you keep pouring without receiving, you'll burn out not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally. That burnout don't just tire you, it makes you bitter, resentful, even toward those who love you, because your soul's been in survival mode too long, always giving, always fixing, always holding space until there's no space left for you, no air left to breathe. And that ain't selfish to admit, it's sacred, holy, a truth God wants you to hold tight. You deserve rest, not just sleep, but soul-deep restoration. You deserve to be asked, how can I lift you today? What's God doing in your heart? You deserve conversations that breathe life into your lungs, that spark joy in your spirit, not ones that steal your air, leaving you gasping. You deserve friendships like sunlight breaking through a storm, not clouds that darken your day. You deserve to walk away from a talk feeling lifted, not crushed, to say, I can't carry this right now, without guilt weighing you down. That's not weakness, it's wisdom, the kind God gives when you seek Him. But these folks won't let go easy. They built their comfort on your sacrifice, their stability on your strength. When you pull back, they panic, call you selfish, cold, uncaring, throwing every guilt trip they know to drag you back to the role they wrote for you, the rescuer, the fixer, the endless shoulder. But you've outgrown that role, family. You've outgrown being their savior, their crutch, their constant well. You don't got to play God in their story, especially when they refuse to seek Him themselves. It ain't your job to bleed so they can heal, to empty your soul so they stay full. That's not love, it's martyrdom. And martyrs don't live, they suffer. Praised for their sacrifice, but crushed under the weight of others' refusal to grow. You got a choice, and it's a holy one. Keep being everyone's everything and lose yourself. Or choose healing, wholeness, boundaries that guard your peace like a fortress. That don't mean stop helping, it means stop hurting yourself to help. Stop sacrificing your mental health, your joy, your calling for a love that don't love you back. Stop believing your worth's tied to how much you give, how much you endure, how much you carry. Your worth ain't in how drained you are. It's in how whole you are, how alive you feel, how much of God's Spirit still burns in you at day's end. If they only show when they need but never when you do, they're not friends, they're transactions, users dressed in familiar faces. Real relationships are mutual, not perfect but balanced. Like a dance where both partners move. Some days you pour, some days they do. Some days you carry, some days they lift. Over time, the weight's shared, and you don't feel alone in the journey. That's healthy, that's holy. That's what God designed. But if you feel like a well run dry, like you're pouring into a desert with no oasis in sight, step back. Reevaluate. Ask yourself, is this feeding my soul or depleting it? Don't fear the answer. Clarity may cost you company, but it returns your peace, and peace is priceless. A gift from God you got to protect. You weren't made to be everyone's fixer, born to be drained dry. You're crafted with purpose, with light, with a calling that demands your energy, your clarity, your joy. Staying tangled with takers delays the divine assignment God wrote for you, the lives you're meant to touch, the dreams you're meant to build, the legacy you're meant to leave. Release them with love, with grace, but with strength, like a warrior claiming victory. You don't got to hate them to walk away. Just love yourself enough to stop being drained, to stop pouring into cups that won't hold water. Value your soul enough to say, I need folks who see me too, who love me for me, not just what I give. Believe that, and you'll stop chasing those who only call when they need. You'll attract those who pour into you because they care, because they see God's light in you and want to fan that flame. Your spirit's sacred, your energy holy, a temple of the Most High. Those who walk with you should honor that, not just take but protect, refill, cherish it like a gift. Guard your peace like treasure, your joy like fire, your heart like the altar it is. True friends don't let you walk empty, they fill you with truth, laughter, faith, love, never making you feel guilty for needing rest, breath, healing. That's life. That's balance, that's love, and that's what God says you deserve. Some folks don't knock. When they enter your life, they barge in. Not with love, not with care, but with convenience. like they've got a key to your soul they never earned. They don't show up to celebrate your wins, to check on your heart, to say, I'm praying for you. They appear when their life's in flames, broken bridges burned to ash. That's when they remember your number, reaching out like you've always been their ride or die, like they've had your back through every storm. But you know better, family. Deep in your gut, you see they're here to take, not given. They've made it a pattern, a rhythm as predictable as a clock. I've had people call after years of silence, acting like kin, weaving sweet words, only to ask for a favor, money, advice, a connection, and vanish once they got it, like I was a vending machine, not a man with a heart. God saying, my child, I gave you a heart of gold, but not to be plundered by those who see you as a means, not a miracle. Be discerning, for your kindness is a gift from me, not a debt you owe. You could go months, years without a peep, no texts, no calls, no support when you were drowning in your own battles, no presence when you needed a voice to say, you got this. But when their world cracks, suddenly they miss you, just thought about you like you're their long-lost soulmate. Don't fall for the fake sentiment. Family, it's a script, a con. What they're really saying is, I need something and you're soft enough, kind enough, faithful enough to give it. It ain't friendship, it's survival, and you're their lifeline, their resource, their last resort when everyone else has locked their doors. They call it reconnecting. It's recycling you, pulling you back into their orbit only when their tank's empty. What's your name? Who's been popping up only when their hands are empty, their needs heavy? Who's been treating you like a pit stop, not a person? They don't look like users at first, no, they're smooth, charming even. They laugh with you, reminisce about old times, act like they care, like they've been with you all along. But watch the pattern, like a detective piecing together clues. They only come when they're empty, when their world's collapsed, when others stopped answering their calls. They return because they remember your kindness, your open heart, how quick you were to help without asking for a dime, a favor, a thank you. They're drawn to your generosity, your goodness, the Christ-like love you carry, and they exploit it quietly, strategically, like a thief hitting an unguarded house in the dead of night. You start questioning yourself, am I too harsh? Do they really care? Am I judging too quick? But look at the evidence, family, like a courtroom laying out the facts. Where were they when you were struggling, when you needed a listener, a prayer, a hand to hold? Why do they only check in when they need money, advice, a favor, a boost? It ain't coincidence, it's a pattern, and patterns don't lie, even when intentions do. They say the right things, use the right tone, shed a few crocodile tears, but their actions scream truth. They want what you give, not you. Once they get it, once their crisis is patched, their need met, they're gone. Ghosted. Vanished until the next storm, the next emergency, leaving you trapped in a cycle of giving, hoping, helping, hurting. You give pieces of your time, your energy, your peace, thinking, maybe this time it's different. Maybe they'll stay, value me, see me. But once they're back on their feet, they dip, like your help was a pit stop on their road to comfort, like you were a tool, not a treasure. That wounds deep, not just for what they took, but for what you gave, your heart, your hope, your trust, longing to matter, to connect, to be more than a means to an end. To them, you were never a person, you were convenience, a resource to tap when their well ran dry. And if you're not careful, they'll train you to believe love's conditional, that you're chosen only when you're useful, that folks show up only when they need something. That's trauma, family, a programming that sinks into your soul. Unhealed, you'll start measuring your worth by what you do for others. How much you give, how much you endure, never by who you are, never by the image of God stamped on your spirit. That's the trap, the lie the enemy wants you to swallow. You start thinking saying no means they'll leave, and they will. But hear this loud and clear, anyone who leaves because you won't be used was never yours to keep. You didn't lose them, you escaped them, broke free from a chain God never meant you wear. Philippians chapter 4 verse 13 declares, I can do all this through him who gives me strength. You got to protect yourself, not because you're cold, not because you don't care, but because you've learned the hard way that some folks love the open door, not the person behind it. They love access to your heart, not the relationship with your soul. They love the benefits you bring, not the bond you offer. And you deserve more, family more than being a convenience store for their crises. You deserve people who show up not just when they're desperate, but when you're hurting, when you're celebrating, when you're just being you. People who don't call only in their storms, but check in during the calm just because they care, because they see God's light in you and want to walk beside it. That's love, that's friendship, that's real, that's what God designed for you. But these users don't know real, they've never had to give, only taken, convincing themselves they're entitled to your kindness, like you owe them your time, your energy, your empathy, like your heart's a public well they can draw from any time. That's not friendship, it's entitlement, a hunger that grows with every favor you give. The more you pour, the more they expect. And when you stop, they turn, guilt trip, called you selfish, different not. Because you finally said, my heart's too sacred for this. Your kindness is rare, your heart a treasure, a reflection of God's love. Not everyone deserves access to it, especially those who show only for gain, who see you as a tool, not a temple. These folks are emotional opportunists. They don't invest in you, walk with you, grow with you. They just stop by, take what they need, and leave you with less peace, less joy, less of the light God gave you. Keep them close and you shrink, not just emotionally, but spiritually, your joy fading, your passion dimming, your peace crumbling because you're pouring into someone who brings only a bucket, never a blessing. You weren't made to be a pit stop for folks who refuse to fix themselves. An emotional ATM spitting out support with no deposits. You're more than that. Family worthy of relationships built on reciprocity, not desperation, on love that gives and receives. You deserve people who show up not because they need something, but because they miss your presence, because they value your spirit, because they honor who you are, not what you can do. Until you believe that, you'll keep opening your door to those who don't belong, who don't deserve to step into the sanctuary of your soul. Be wise, be loving, but be discerning like a steward of God's gifts. Ask yourself, do they call when they don't need anything? Do they celebrate my wins with a full heart? Do they ask how I'm really doing? How God's moving in my life? If the answer is no, believe the pattern, not their promises. People can say anything, sweet words, tearful pleas, but their consistency, their actions, that's the truth God wants you to see. When they show their loyalties temporary, their care transactional, let them go not with bitterness, but with boundaries, with strength, with the peace that comes from obeying God's call to guard your heart. Letting go of a user ain't loss, it's liberation, a holy act of reclaiming what's yours. Your time's precious, your energy sacred, a gift from the Creator. You weren't born to be a backup plan, a last resort, a temporary fix for someone else's chaos. You deserve consistent love, genuine connection, people who show up in the calm, who enjoy your light, who don't just survive in your glow but add to it. Say it with boldness, family, I will no longer entertain those who only remember me when they need something. That's not cold, that's clarity, a declaration that bursts peace, the kind that can't be taken, used, or borrowed. The kind that grows when you stand firm and say, enough. My heart belongs to God and I'm guarding it for His purpose. There's something dangerous, deeply manipulative about folks who always paint themselves as victims, no matter how much chaos they've caused. They twist the truth like a pretzel, bend facts like clay, spin stories so they come out looking like they were just trying their best while the world ganged up on them. They're never responsible for the wreckage they leave, never accountable for the hearts they break, just misunderstood. Always armed with excuses thicker than a phone book. Try to shine a light on the truth and they flip it faster than a coin, making you the bad guy for daring to speak up. Their traps so subtle, so slick, it makes you question reality, doubt your own eyes, your own heart. I've dealt with folks like this, cleaning up their messes, smoothing over their conflicts, only to be painted as the villain when I called out their game. It left me second guessing, wondering if I was too hard, too cold. But God's saying, my child, I am the God of truth. Seek me, and I'll show you what's real. Don't let lies steal the peace I've given you. You start thinking, maybe I'm too harsh. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. But every time you're left carrying the weight of their choices, mopping up their chaos while they walk away with everyone's sympathy, like they're the wounded hero in a tragedy they wrote. These folks are masters at emotional manipulation, artists of deception. They know when to cry, when to raise their voice, when to play the martyr, acting like the world's against them all while quietly stirring the pot, pulling strings behind the scenes. It's never their fault. They'll blame their childhood, their ex, their boss, their neighbor, even the weather, anything to dodge the mirror of truth. Confront them and they turn it on you, accusing you of being heartless, cold, lacking empathy, flipping the script so fast you're dizzy. You come with facts, with truth, but they've got a weapon sharper than steel, guilt. They wield it like a sword, not to protect but to control, to keep you tethered to their narrative. If you feel sorry, if your compassion clouds your judgment, they've got you hooked. And they know it. What's your story? Who's been twisting truth to dodge blame, leaving you to clean their mess while they play the saint? Their danger ain't just in what they do, it's in how they make you feel, how they twist your soul. You carry shame for even thinking they're wrong, like you're betraying them by seeing the truth. You suppress your instincts, walk on eggshells, apologize for their behavior, cover their tracks like a loyal soldier. The longer you play their game, the more power they gain because they don't have to change. They've convinced you they're not the problem. It's everyone else. It's life's cruelty. It's the world's unfairness. They're just trying their best. But let's get real. How long can trying their best mean hurting others, leaving a trail of pain? At some point, it ain't about life being hard. It's about the choices they make in the middle of it. The refusal to own their role, to face the mirror God holds up. They play victim because truth demands change, accountability, growth, and that's too heavy, too raw for them. So they hide behind a mask of innocence, rewriting every story so they're the wrong one, the misunderstood soul. And people fall for it. Friends, family, partners rush to their defense, thinking they're sensitive, struggling, going through it. Maybe they are family, but pain don't give you a free pass to destroy others and never own it. Struggle don't justify manipulation. Don't excuse sowing chaos while dodging consequences. Hurt people may hurt people, but healing real, God-breathed healing comes only when you admit your wounds cause pain, when you humble yourself before the Lord and say, I messed up. Help me change. If you keep these folks close too long, you shrink, your voice gets quieter. Your confidence crumbles. You doubt your ability to judge, to discern. You become afraid to speak up, to be honest, because you know how it'll go. They'll twist your words, cry louder, make a spectacle. And suddenly you're the aggressor, the one who went too far. All because you dared call out what God showed you. They control you by turning truth's light into a spotlight of shame, making you feel like the villain for seeking clarity. That's emotional abuse, family masked as fragility, dressed up as vulnerability. They ain't weak, they're strategic, playing a game where they always win by keeping you off balance. We live in a world that often says protect the hurt, even when they're the ones hurting others, and that makes their game even more dangerous because it's cloaked in a culture of misplaced compassion. You keep forgiving, keep seeing their good, keep hoping they'll change. But you're not dealing with someone who's just broken, you're with someone who's chosen brokenness as a shield, a weapon, a way to avoid the hard work of growth. They weaponize their pain, manipulate with their struggle, make every conflict, every disagreement, every accountable moment you made them feel not what they did. That's not vulnerability, it's a disguise, a mask to keep you dancing to their tune. You got to realize, family, that healing don't come from rescuing someone who won't own their role in the chaos. You can love them, pray for them, hold compassion in your heart, but don't mistake compassion for permission to let them keep sowing discord. I don't give them space to act like the world owes them while they offer nothing but pain in return. You can't fix someone who denies they're broken, who refuses to step into the light of truth. You can't grow with someone stuck in victim mode, using it as armor to never be the villain. You can't find peace with someone who's at war with reality, who'd rather fight the truth than face it. These folks ain't harmless, they're dangerous, because their actions deal real damage, their denial bursts real pain, and their refusal to grow just keep them stuck. It drags you down with them. You start questioning your sanity, carrying burdens that ain't yours, feeling like you're the toxic one, the too intense one, the fault finder. That's their lie, their trick. The more you doubt yourself, the less you call them out, the more they win, the more they keep you tethered to their chaos. John chapter 8, verse 32 proclaims, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." You must set boundaries not out of hate, but out of love for yourself, out of obedience to God's call to guard your heart. You don't owe anyone your silence, your endless chances to rewrite reality, your presence in a relationship where honesty is treated like betrayal. Some folks only grow when they hit the wall of accountability, when they face the consequences of their choices. If you keep cushioning that wall, softening the blow, they'll never hit it, never change. Walking away ain't enmity, it's wisdom. Setting boundaries ain't cold, it's courage. Saying this ain't okay, it ain't cruel, it's clarity. You're choosing peace over performance, truth over toxicity, freedom over bondage. That's strength, family, the kind God gives when you lean into Him. That's healing, the kind He promises when you seek His face. That's freedom, the kind He died to give you. Straight from my soul. Family, if they're spilling everyone's secrets to you, slicing reputations with their words, trust me, your name's on their lips when you're out the room. It ain't a question of if, it's when, like clockwork. They sit beside you, smiling, acting loyal, like they're your confidant, your ride or die, while their tongue tears others apart like a blade through silk. At first it feels harmless gossip here, a juicy story there, a little tea spilled over coffee. You might even laugh, lean in, feel like you're in on something. But over time you see the pattern clear as day. Everyone's a target, no one's safe. Friends, co-workers, family, neighbors, they're all fair game, all fodder for their tales. And they're always the hero, the righteous one, just being honest, telling it like it is. But truth without integrity ain't courage, it's poison, a venom that spreads slow but deadly. I've heard whispers like this, laughed along, only to learn my struggles, my private pains were their next headline, shared with a smirk. God saying, my child, let your words build, not break. Speak life, for your tongue holds the power of life and death. Use it to honor me. Me. Folks who make a habit of whispering others' failures, dissecting their flaws, won't hesitate to do the same with yours. The moment you slip, stumble, show your human side, you're their next story, their next chance to shine by dimming you. Don't be fooled by their calm, their charm, their easy laugh. They're dangerous, silent in the worst ways, like a snake coiled in the grass. They collect your vulnerabilities like coins, hoarding your trust to spend it as entertainment. They share your secrets, your struggles, dressed up as concern. I'm just worried about them, praying for them. But they ain't worried, family, they're satisfied, basking in the glow of being the drama's center while pretending to float above it. What's your name? Who's been bonding with you by breaking others down, making you feel them while they tear apart someone else's name? They build connection through destruction, forging a bond by dragging others through the mud. For a minute, it feels like you're special, like you've got a backstage pass to the truth. But it ain't truth they're after, it's control, power, relevance. They need to feel important, need to be the one with the scoop, even if it means dragging someone's name through the dirt, shredding their reputation for a moment's thrill. The moment you stop playing their game, the second you set a boundary, say, I don't do gossip, you'll see how fast your name hits their lips in the wrong crowd. It won't take long, stories about you will spread, twisted, half-true, leaving damage before you even know what hit you. These folks don't just speak, they influence, their words rippling through circles like a quiet storm, stirring doubts, straining ties, breaking trust. By the time truth catches up, relationships are cracked, bonds are bruised, and they walk away clean, hands washed, because they do it so subtle, so sweet. I didn't mean it that way. I was just saying what everyone else thinks. Don't take it personal. That's their knife's mask, their way of staying in favor while cutting reputations behind closed doors. They don't stab you outright, you never see it coming. They bleed people slow with their tongue, leaving wounds that fester long after they've moved on to the next tale. James chapter 3 verse 8 warns, "But no human being can tame tongue. It is a restless evil, full of deadly poison." Keep them close. And you start becoming them not because you're bad, but because gossip's like a virus, spreading distrust, warping your heart. It trains you to seek flaws instead of grace, weaknesses instead of strengths, dirt instead of dignity. You start scanning people for their cracks, forgetting every story's a soul, every mistake a journey, every name a life that don't deserve to be dissected without honor. Gossip numbs your empathy, dulls your compassion, makes you forget the weight of words, the power they hold to build or break. These folks are often the loudest about loyalty, swearing, "You can trust me, I'd never badmouth you." But their actions scream otherwise. Watch them when others leave. Family patterns reveal character, show what they value, whether their voice protects or destroys. If they tear down the absent, they don't deserve a seat at your table, a place in your circle. Your peace is too valuable, your energy too precious, your soul too sacred to be a breeding ground for drama, a stage for their whispers. You deserve people who speak life, not death, who protect what's sacred, who keep confidence like a vow, who don't trade struggles for entertainment. You deserve folks who defend your name in rooms you ain't in, who refuse to dilute your story with half-truths or second-hand lies. You deserve people who lift the room with their presence, who bring light, not shadows, who speak words that heal, not wound. Life's too short, family, to walk with those who smile in your face and spit your name the moment you turn. You need real ones, solid ones, folks who know trust is currency, rare and hard to re-earn once spent recklessly. Constant gossip ain't just a bad habit, it's a siren, a warning they lack the maturity to handle relationships with respect, that they'd rather bleed conflict into others than face it head-on. Unchecked, their toxicity poisons your peace, turns their issues into your distraction, sours your bonds with others. Gossip's contagious, family. The only way to stop it is to step away from the source. Don't entertain it, don't laugh along, don't call it harmless, shut it down, change the topic. Excuse yourself. Make your space a no-gossip zone, not to be self-righteous, but to protect your soul, to honor God's call to speak life. You're choosing growth over gossip, peace over pettiness, dignity over drama. If that means losing a few folks, so be it. Better to walk alone in truth than be surrounded by whispers in a room full of masks. You're worthy of loyal, transparent, real ties, of friendships that reflect God's love. Let gossips talk elsewhere, your heart's too holy for their games. There comes a moment, family, when a fire ignites deep in your soul, a holy spark that says it's time to let go, to evolve, to step into the person God created you to be. You feel it, don't you? That stirring, that hunger to break free, to become the you you've always sensed, the you God dreamed before He knit you together. But just as you start to rise, to red your wings, there's always someone pulling you back, chaining you to a version of you you've outgrown, a shadow you've left behind. They remind you of every mistake you made, every wrong turn you took, every flaw you fought tooth and nail to overcome. They don't speak hope into your future, they echo shame from your past. They don't see who you're becoming, they're obsessed with who you were, like they've got a photo album of your worst moments and won't stop flipping through it. If you ain't careful, you'll believe their lies, start questioning your growth, doubting your healing, shrinking back into the pain you've been clawing your way out of. I've had folks drag up my past, old failures, old words, old wounds, trying to cage me in labels I'd shed while I was chasing God's purpose. It hurt, made me stumble. But God grabbed me, said, "Son, I make all things new. I don't let their fear chain you to what I've redeemed. You're mine, and I'm calling you forward." These folks don't come with loud hate often. They're cloaked in keeping it real, acting like they're doing you a favor by reminding you of your lows. But there's nothing real about reliving your darkest days, nothing loving about resurrecting pain when you're building something new, something holy. Remember when you failed that business? Remember when you said that foolish thing? You ain't fooling anyone, you're still the same mess. That's not honesty, it's sabotage, a deliberate attempt to keep you tethered to a chapter God's already closed. It ain't love, it's fear, fear that you're outgrowing them, that your healing forces them to face their own wounds, that your rise means they'll be left behind in their own stagnation. People stuck in the past fear transformation family. They cling to the known, even when it's pain, even when it's a prison, because it's familiar. So when they see you breaking cycles, forgiving what hurt you, trauma, choosing peace, chasing purpose, it shakes them to their core. It exposes their own stillness, their own refusal to move, to grow, to answer God's call. Instead of cheering your progress, they try to freeze frame your journey, pull out snapshots of your worst chapters, and hold them up like they're your whole story. But you ain't your past family, you ain't the sum of your lowest moments. You're the evidence of God's redemption, the proof that growth is possible, the living testimony that His grace makes change real. Anyone trying to reduce you to who you were is terrified of who you're becoming, of the glory God's unveiling in you. Isaiah chapter 43 verse 18 urges, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past." You can't drag your future into rooms that only honor your history, can't soar with wings anchored by old labels and expired judgments. They say, don't forget where you came from. And that's true, never forget your roots, the lessons, the battles that shaped you. But remembering ain't staying family. Growth demands movement, forward vision. A heart fixed on the horizon God's painted for you. Someone pulling you backward ain't protecting your roots, they're choking them, strangling the life God's growing in you. You need people who remind you of your strength, not your scars. Who point to your potential, not your past. Who speak to your healing, not your hurting. And here's the hardest truth. Some folks who were there for your breakdown can't handle your breakthrough. They liked you broken because you were easier to control, easier to keep close. They liked you lost because you needed them more, leaned on them more. But now, as you find your voice, walk in purpose, raise your standards to match God's call, they feel threatened. Like your rise is their fall. So they level the field, remind you of every time you fell, every crack in your story. But those falls forged your strength, family. Those cracks let God's light shine through. Those mistakes taught you wisdom, carved courage into your bones. That flawed version of you was brave enough to begin again, to get up, to trust God's grace. Never be ashamed of the process that brought you to this moment, to this holy ground where you stand. You're allowed to outgrow people, to evolve beyond spaces that don't reflect your future, to create distance from those blind to your progress. This ain't pride, it's protection, a sacred act of stewarding God's gift. It ain't ego, it's elevation, a response to His call to rise, to soar. You gotta release voices that keep you small, conversations that replay your pain, narratives that don't serve your destiny. Love them from afar, protect your peace like a fortress. Forgive the past, but don't be its prisoner. Honor where you've been, but don't pitch a tent there. Your past was a classroom, not a cage meant to teach you, not trap you. Anyone dragging you back to those old lessons is resisting your growth, fighting the work God's doing in you. They want you sitting in shame, but God made you to stand in freedom. They want you apologizing for how far you've come, but you owe no apologies for answering His call. Growth ain't betrayal. Healing ain't arrogance. Becoming better ain't turning your back, it's turning your face toward the future, toward the purpose God's unfolding. If they can't handle your light, that's their struggle, not yours. Keep moving, family, keep building, keep dreaming, keep chasing the vision God planted in you. Don't let anyone's limited view of your past block the purpose He's calling you to. You've cried too many tears, climbed too many mountains, fought too many battles to be reduced to who you were. You've got every right to grow, to evolve, to rise, to become the masterpiece God's sculpting. Those blind to it don't deserve a front row seat to your journey. Don't dim your light to ease their comfort, shine, blaze. Let it burn bright enough to light the world. You owe it to the you you're becoming, the you God sees, not to shrink for those refusing to grow with you. Keep becoming, keep blooming, keep stepping into the fullness of His plan. Your future's waiting, family. Don't waste a second explaining your growth to folks set on misunderstanding it. Let them talk about the old you. You've got a destiny to fulfill, a legacy to build, a God to glorify. There comes a point, family, when surviving just ain't enough. You hunger for more peace that settles your soul, purpose that fuels your days, growth that stretches you, truth that sets you free. To reach that holy ground, you got to learn a hard but necessary truth. Not everyone deserves access to you. Some folks walk into your life with pure hearts, ready to walk beside you. Others slip in wearing masks, clapping for your rise while hiding envy in their hands. That's why your journey you're becoming demands discernment, a gift God gives when you seek Him. Not every smile's for you. Not every closed one's loyal. Not every face from your past belongs in your future. I've walked this road, felt the knife of betrayal from those I called friends, been drained by takers who left me empty, chained by voices that tried to keep me locked in who I was. But God lifted me, dusted me off, and said, "Son, I called you for more, a life of alignment, of legacy, of purpose that shakes the earth. Guard what I've given you, for your light's my gift to a world in darkness." You've heard the voices, seen the signs, felt the weight of those who disguise competition as friendship, who drain your spirit without ever pouring back, who show up only when their needs are heavy, their hands empty. There's others who dodge accountability, crying victim while leaving a trail of pain, blaming everyone but the mirror. Then there's the whisperers, shredding reputations behind closed doors. If they gossip others to you, your name's next on their list. And maybe the deepest cut comes from those who can't see you beyond your past, who cage you in a version of you you've outgrown, fearing your growth because it exposes their stillness. What's your name? Where's God calling you to break free today? These folks will taint your peace, blur your identity, make dysfunction feel normal if you don't love yourself enough to walk away, to say, "My heart's too sacred for this." You weren't made to stay stuck, to shrink for others' fear, to live small to ease their insecurity. Your life's meant for more than survival. It's for purpose, for legacy, for dreams you're destined to build, for healing you're called to finish, for a destiny screaming your name from heaven's courts. This journey ain't about bitterness, it's about clarity, a holy lens God gives to see truth. It ain't about hate, it's about healing, the kind He pours when you surrender your wounds. It ain't about closing your heart, it's about opening your eyes to who's for you and who's against you. Protect your light, family, like it's the flame of God Himself. Nurture your spirit, for